Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel, thank you. Today is explanation of Flame Emperor episode number 8 based on novel. So let's start. The next thing is to conquer it. The Golden Dragon King looked at the huge ghost in the sky that was condensed by many soul bodies. The corpse control method of the corpse demon family has a dot on the forehead of the corpse. That dot is not easy for ordinary people to find, but it is the biggest nemesis. The corpse control method of the corpse demon family is also extremely perfect, but I have dealt with them a lot, and the only drawback is also known. The corpse control method is originally a magic circle, and the eyes of the circle force all souls together. Eyes, the shadow in front of me is also unbearable. The Golden Dragon King said to Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan tried his best to use his soul power to look, but he didn't find the so-called formation eye on the top of the ghost's head. It seems that the formation eye should be hidden. It takes an accurate attack to make the formation point appear. Xiao Yan had a plan in his heart. He used his vindictive energy, surrounded himself with strange fire, and attacked the ghost. Although the evil aura emanating from this phantom was stronger than the aura of the man in black just now, even if it reached the level of a 4-star fighting emperor, the phantom was too cumbersome and had no wisdom at all. Knowing the slaughtered war machine, Xiao Yan dared to fight against it. The huge ghost in the sky constantly exudes an evil aura. In this small space, wherever the ghost goes, the trees wither rapidly, leaving no grass behind. Great heavens, good fortune palm. Xiao Yan looked at the shadow that was getting closer, and walked away with one palm. A huge energy palm print whizzed away at the ghost, and a strange fire slowly surrounded the palm, attacking away with the slightest sound of breaking wind. Who? The huge ghost was waved and the energy palm print was dissipated, but the flames of the strange fire did remain on the ghost's hand. When Xiao Yan launched the attack, he deliberately avoided the blind spot of the ghost's vision. Although Xiao Yan himself knew that the heavenly fortune palm of the heavenly rank fighting skill could not cause too much damage to the creature in front of him that was comparable to the 4-star fighting emperor, but I didn't expect that the defense and reaction of this phantom would be so terrifying. Xiao Yan's attack seems to have attracted Mo Ying's attention. Mo Ying just wanted to attack Xiao Yan, but unexpectedly the strange fire on Mo Ying's arm was burning violently, and Mo Ying let out a roar. It was a lot of damage, but Mo Ying's clumsy body was helpless with this strange fire. He hurriedly looked at Xiao Yan with fierce eyes, and his eyes seemed to devour Xiao Yan with hatred. Master, the flame has already attached to the arm of the ghost, what should I do next? It turned out that his master, the Golden Dragon King, secretly told Xiao Yan just now that as long as the flame was attached to the arm of the ghost, the next it was handed over to the master, the Golden Dragon King. Leave it to me next, take a good look at it. Although your strange fire is not a holy flame, it is not much different. From what I can see, your strange fire is the same as the holy flame. Restraint. Looking at Mo Ying and Xiao Yan explained. Leave the control of your body to me for the time being. The Golden Dragon King said to Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan immediately understood the meaning of the master and did not obstruct him, letting Jinlong's soul control his body. Hey, I haven't encountered the corpse demon clan for many years. Xiao Yan's voice seemed to be slightly different, and then he didn't care about the huge ghost in front of him. The huge breath slowly woke up, and the breath of the ghost in front of him was one in the sky and one in the ground. Yueru in the distance couldn't stand the evil aura emanating from this huge ghost for a long time, so she passed out, but fortunately, Xiao Yi was there to take care of her. You were all strong men in my world before you were alive. Unfortunately, you were killed by the demons, but your souls are still being driven by the demons. Are you willing? You must have vividly remembered the many injuries caused by the evil races from outside the realm to the thousands of souls in my world. Are you willing to help the tyrants in this way? Does the dignity of your strong man allow you to do this? The different Xiao Yan roared at the huge shadow in the sky, exuding an aura that was no less than that of the shadow. When Xiao Yan roared these words, a huge ghost in the sky was attacking Xiao Yan suddenly changed. The originally aggressive ghost figure was covered with many soul bodies. After Xiao Yan said those words, there was a trace of resonance from the depths of his soul. Xiao Yan's seemingly simple roar contained a huge amount of soul power which was directly transmitted to the depths of every enslaved soul through the power of the soul, so that the last trace of reason in their hearts and the dignity of the strong were instantly stimulated. Come out! Not reconciled! Many souls roared furiously, as if to say. The many souls that are covered on the ghost-like scales are violently resisting, trying to get rid of the enslavement of the ghost. Many souls are constantly breaking free, like scales are about to fall off, but the ghost also knows this situation, and let out a long roar. The soul that was about to break free is under control in an instant. More and more soul bodies began to break free and escape, although they also knew that even if they escaped the enslavement of the ghost, they would not miss the chance, that the feeling of being enslaved by the demons felt like a great shame to them. Which strong man is willing? The soul bodies looked at Xiao Yan's direction one after another, as if they were asking for help from Xiao Yan because they were not willing to be enslaved by the demons. It's time to end. Xiao Yan stood up and clapped the dust on his hands. The Golden Dragon King controls Xiao Yan's body. The reason why he wants to awaken the rationality and unwillingness of these souls is to clean up the ghosts, and to make these enslaved souls devour later. And prepare. The soul of the huge ghost in the sky resisted violently, and it looked like scales were about to fall off, because they also knew that if they didn't resist this last chance, they would be enslaved by the demons for the rest of their lives. He is a strong man in the world, how can he be reconciled? Xiao Yan looked at the huge ghost in the sky that was taking care of itself, raised his hand, and lightly touched the top of his head. Broken. A loud voice came from Xiao Yan's mouth. I saw a seemingly small beam of light attacking the huge ghost in the sky, but the seemingly small beam of light actually contained ancient and terrifying power. Bang bang bang. Several explosion-like sounds came from above the head of a ghost, and the ghost that was still screaming in the sky and exuding an evil aura was unexpectedly fatally struck by Xiao Yan. Due to the beam of light, the shadow was sluggish for a moment because the eye of the formation was destroyed. Obviously, this demon corpse was solved. The ghost in the sky festered, and countless souls poured out of the unsightly body. They all bowed to Xiao Yan, and they were very grateful to Xiao Yan for saving them. It's up to you whether you can conquer it or not. After the Golden Dragon King finished speaking, he regained Xiao Yan's control. Xiao Yan was too lazy to be distracted by this almost slaughter-like situation. He lowered his head and looked at the huge shadow above. With the palm of his hand, the ancient ruler of eternal fire flashed out, and immediately slashed at the shadow. A huge flame of hundreds of feet burst out, directly splitting the ghost, revealing countless black chains entangled in it, and at the end of those chains, there are countless soul lights hanging. Group, looking at the thousands of soul bodies, Xiao Yan couldn't help but jump in the corners of his eyes. These of the demon race are just like the soul race, they are completely taking advantage of other people's powerful souls to capture and swallow them as nourishment. Or as an energy provider for corpse control. Simply inhumane. Xiao Yan waved his palm lightly, and the terrifying strong wind blew like a gust of wind. At this moment, he slowly opened his eyes and looked around weakly and blankly. He just fused with the ghost and became fat and consumed their few strengths. Feeling that the chain that originated from the soul was broken, and finally there were waves of extremely ecstatic soul fluctuations. Although they didn't know exactly when it happened, they felt a sense of freedom. How many years? They were locked up like prisoners in a dark space with no sunlight, and now they are locked in a shadow, and sometimes even death has become an extravagant hope. Let's all go, don't let the demons catch them again. Looking at these souls who were almost in tears with ecstasy and excitement, Xiao Yan also sighed softly. In the sky, countless souls were entrenched, and in the end, they all knelt down to Xiao Yan and bowed to him, but not a single soul left, but looked at Xiao Yan silently and motionless. Countless souls are also aware that the origin of their souls has been eroded by the demons, and it is impossible for them to return to normal after going out. Seniors, my Dakian world is at odds with that foreign evil clan. I hope the seniors will help me. The kid must do his best to protect the Dakian world. Xiao Yan is not stupid either. Looking at the countless soul bodies in the sky while talking silently, he bowed deeply and roared. The countless souls in the sky first stagnated for a second, and they immediately understood that the man in front of them not only saved them but also possessed the wonders of heaven and earth such as the fire spirit, and then the overwhelming sacrifice was like that. With the plan, the tens of thousands of soul bodies in front of Xiao Yang all turned into pure forces and gathered into a light group that stayed in front of Xiao Yang. Xiao Yang frowned slightly and looked at the light group. From the light group, he felt an extremely terrifying soul fluctuation, and this fluctuation was extremely pure without any impurities. This is the origin of the soul. Xiao Yan remembered that he also captured a group when he was in the soul clan of the Dochi continent. I'll show you something after you go out. It should be the secret treasure that the man in black killed the Mu family. Behind Xiao Yang, the voice of the Golden Dragon King came. He turned his head and saw that the latter was also floating from the sky. Next, I just went to the big pit left by the man in black to find something. The origin of the soul. Xiao Yan muttered slowly in his mouth. Now, he naturally understands what this is, and he doesn't care what the Golden Dragon King said. The soul is the root of all beings in the world. All things in the world have souls, and deep in the soul, there is a trace of the origin of the soul. This is the root of the birth of the soul. Strange energy. Don't worry, I will avenge your revenge for you, a gentle word, but suddenly caused the soul light group to release a faint luster, vaguely, as if a lot of information was transmitted from it. Xiao Yang silently accepted the information. There were too many strong soul origins in the soul light group, but there was no spiritual wisdom in it. Some were just some resentment left before he died completely. Waiting for emotions, these emotions, it is quite difficult to completely refine them. If they are absorbed indiscriminately, they will inevitably affect the mind. But Xiao Yang's words just happened to quietly dispel these hidden negative emotions. This is another kind of consolation of wisdom from the origin of these souls. They were all powerhouses in their lifetimes. Even if they died, using the power at the end will make it difficult for the people who killed them. Although it seems easy to defuse them, at least the people of the demon race will never say this, and they also know that Xiao Yang helped them kill them. To their murderers. Sit down cross-legged and carefully integrate our soul origin. How far you can achieve depends on your fortune. The soul body of the sky seemed to be talking to Xiao Yang. Thank you, seniors. Xiao Yang also sat down cross-legged when he heard the words, adjusting his state to absorb the purest soul power. Xiao Yang sat cross-legged on a flat ground. In front of him, a light group about half a zhong-sized lightly suspended. A soft and pure luster continued to diffuse out of it, shining on the surrounding grass blades, making the surrounding those grasses that had been depleted instantly turned lush and green. The power of this soul source is really pure, but it's really hard for these seniors. Xiao Yang murmured. Xiao Yang stared at the soul light group, let out a sigh of relief, and immediately stretched out his palm and touched the light group. With this contact, Xiao Yang could feel the vastness that filled the soul light group. The power of the origin of the soul, the feeling of, even if it is the power of the soul of Emperor Xiao Yan, it can't help but make the soul between his eyebrows feel extremely warm. Emperor realm souls are divided into 4 levels: entry level, immortal level, transcendent saint level, and consummation level. The Golden Dragon King said slowly. Wow, the soul light group slowly fluctuated in Xiao Yang's absorption, and bursts of crisp sounds like water splashes came from the Qianling cover, and the power of the original soul was continuously injected into Xiao Yang's soul. Under such perfusion, a faint intoxication appeared on the face of the small figure formed by the soul above Xiao Yang's head. Under the wrapping of these original souls, he felt that his soul was like being surrounded by infiltrating in a warm light. It feels like the fetus is in the womb. Layers of faint strange crystal layers quietly emerged on the surface of the soul, and when you looked at it faintly, it was like a real human figure, extremely miraculous. This is the power of the soul of the Emperor realm. The layers of faint strange crystal layers are actually protective layers that can resist the attack of the soul, quietly appearing on the surface of the soul to protect the most vulnerable soul. In the soul light group, there is an extremely terrifying soul source power. These source powers were only condensed from the millions of soul bodies captured by the man in black. Before such a vast soul source, even Xiao Yang, it's a tiny feeling of insignificance, crash, as more and more soul sources were absorbed by Xiao Yang. Circles of invisible fluctuations, also centered on Xiao Yang, slowly spread out. It suddenly became silent, and an invisible coercion spread instantly. Has the collection been successful? Boom boom boom. After those senior soul source light clusters almost disappeared, all the light clusters also merged into Xiao Yang's body, and the small space that was originally isolated by the men in black also trembled violently. Bang! The other dimension began to slowly shatter. Xiao Yang has long since woken up and quit the cultivation state. All the energy of the soul source he absorbed before is stored in the soul realm, because the Golden Dragon King and Xiao Yang just said. Xiao Yang himself is also clear that it takes a lot of time to absorb the source of the soul to improve the strength of the soul. If you can go to use house to find a safe place to make plans, otherwise the soul will be severely damaged, and the loss will be more than the loss. Immediately, it is also to absorb the soul source and store it in the soul realm to make plans. Seeing the immediate crisis resolved, Xiao Yang couldn't help but take a deep breath. It seems that this time I went to use house to deal with things and went to retreat well, devoured the origin of my soul and practiced some fighting skills. Otherwise in this continent where the strong are like clouds it's impossible to walk at all. No wonder he thought so. After all, the enemies Xiao Yang encountered these times were too powerful, and there were very few ways to deal with them. With a plan, he also stepped forward to use the soul power to awaken the two girls. Qing Yuan was obviously trying his best to exhaust his fighting qi. He couldn't wake up in a short time, and he was still in a coma. With the help of Xiao Yang, he slowly woke up. Just woke up and saw a big hole in the distance and hurriedly asked Xiao Yang, "That man in black should be the murderer who killed the Mu family in our Qingcheng recently, but what about the monster behind him? How did you solve it?" "What?" In the face of Yueru's many problems, Xiao Yang also suffered from a headache. He couldn't say that he killed himself, so he could only prevaricate and say, "I don't know, just when you passed out, that monster's body twitched for a while and then froze. It exploded, but it was indeed dead." Yu naturally wouldn't believe Xiao Yang's nonsense, but after the immediate crisis was lifted, he couldn't care less about these doubts, and the top priority was to save his father. With a sound of bang, the original small space was instantly shattered, and the scene of people coming and going on the street was restored. Yueru walked in the front and led the way, Xiao Yang followed behind with Qing Yuan in his arms. Strangely, Xiao Yang, when I was holding Qing Yuan, I felt that the fighting spirit and even the strength of my soul in my body were recovering very quickly. Xiao Yi was also very reluctant to go back to Neijing, so she changed it a little and wanted to become the little girl appear to follow Xiao Yang, but she went back unwillingly under Xiao Yang's warning, with an unhappy expression on her face. Along the way, even if she had just experienced a life-or-death moment, Yueru seemed to lead the way calmly, because she also knew that her father's time was running out. Those who disagree will take the opportunity. The consequences are unimaginable. Before arriving at a street in the Yu family mansion, Xiao Yang and Yu also made a plan. After entering the courtyard, they would act separately. Yu took Qing Yuan to the lounge to rest, and then came over to meet Xiao Yang. Yang went directly to the destination, and then slowly walked towards the huge palace not far away. On the way, Yueru told Xiao Yang that their Yu family is not peaceful now. In other words, there are some differences in the Yu family. Only a few cronies know about her father's severe injury, so the treatment is also to be done in the dark. Approaching the extremely majestic mansion, Xiao Yang was surprised to see that there were many people crowded at the door, and these people were all dressed in the robes of alchemists, with a few strands on their chests. The dazzling silver ripples proudly displayed their identity and rank. "These are the juniors of our family, and you are of course not worth mentioning." Yueru also saw a pharmacist at the door and said, "On the streets where people come and go, all passers-by who pass by will turn their envious and awe-inspiring eyes to the group of alchemists who whisper to each other. In their hearts, pharmacists are a kind of noble profession like an aristocrat. Follow me." Yu took Xiao Yang and the others into the Yu family compound from a small path. Xiao Yang also knew that Yu was obviously doing this to avoid the clan disagreement about which people arranged in the Yu family compound. "Miss, you're back." Just after entering the gate, a pretty maid hurriedly walked out of the side, and then said a few words to Yu in a soft voice. Yu took Qing Yuan and separated from Xiao Yang, and the maid walked away. Is to lead the way ahead. Following behind the maid in a hurry, Xiao Yang's eyes swept across this luxurious mansion. The towering and magnificent buildings made him nod slightly in secret. Leaving aside other things, this Yu family is indeed worthy of Qingcheng. One of the three major families, such wealth is definitely beyond the reach of ordinary people. Walking on the path made of cyan gravel, Xiao Yang's eyes suddenly narrowed slightly. In his sense, since he entered the depths of the Yu family, his soul sensed a mysterious and powerful aura. Hidden in every corner. He raised his head inadvertently, and glanced casually over an eaves, where some dark shadows, hidden in the darkness, were painted black, covering the sharp arrow tips reflected by the sun, slowly moving. Moving in the mansion, any slight disturbance will make them deliver the attack in an instant. The defense is indeed very strict. Xiao Yang frowned slightly, shook his head helplessly, and looked up at a luxurious hall that appeared at the end of the trail. There was a faint sight of a person standing among them. "Father!" Just as Yu took Qing Yuan to rest, she hurriedly ran over to meet Xiao Yang, and greeted the maid to go down. Yu was left in a quaint room, Xiao Yang and a man whom Yu called Father, middle-aged man. You back?" The middle-aged man's loving voice sounded. "Well, Father, I brought back someone who can heal you this time." Yu pushed Xiao Yang and said. Xiao Yang could see that this girl, Yu, was very interested in her father. "My pain won't get better for a while, so I don't have to work so hard." The middle-aged man shied away, but he was very relieved, because his daughter kept coming to him to heal people. Although it was all unsuccessful, the heart was felt. This little friend, the old man Yu, since he came to my Yu's house, please ask the little friend to show me. The middle-aged Yu looked at Xiao Yan, who was brought back by his daughter, and looked carefully, but found that the young man in front of him doesn't seem to be that simple. Even with his own strength, he doesn't seem to be able to see through it. Xiao Yan looked at the middle-aged man who was a little yellowish in front of his eyes, and was not very good. He murmured to himself, 5-star Dodi? He really deserves to be the head of the family. Then he stepped forward, and Xiao Yi also summoned him instantly. Get ready to see what Yu said about the incurable pain of non-fire spirits. At the moment when the fire elf Xiao Yi was summoned, the temperature in the originally mild room instantly increased a lot, and Yu's originally bland eyes suddenly opened and she lost her voice. It's actually a fire elf? This video will end here. Thank you for watching.